Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy here, Ken, doing my preview or predictions for WrestleMania 37, Night 2. I've already done Night 1, so if you want, go check out my predictions for that. Just going to just jump right into it. Um, as I said in my previous video, Night 1 for WrestleMania Saturday looks kind of weak. Outside of the SmackDown Women's Championship and the WWE Championship match, and then maybe to a lesser degree Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Nothing on that match. Nothing on Night One's card really stands out. Like as a whole, it's kind of weak outside of the two championship matches, main championship matches. Night Two looks a little bit better. Definitely for sure, a much stronger card, I'd say actually. Now that I'm looking at it. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna just get right into it. So one of the matches that kind of somewhat thrown in there, but that's okay because these guys have chemistry. I'm good with it. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. This is going to be just like I said in my part one video where I said Seth Rollins versus Cesaro could possibly be the match of the night that no one would expect or really pay too much attention to. I think the same could be said for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. These guys obviously they are best friends, as the old cliche goes. We're destined to do this dance forever. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn could quite possibly be the match of the night, the sleeper match that everyone don't have all that much focus into going into it, but they'll deliver. Who wins this? I'm gonna have to go with Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens, to me, has. I think Kevin Owens has kind of been slept on for the last year. I know he had a program with Roman Reigns for like what 2-3 months coming into the year. I just really feel like Kevin Owens needs some heat. He needs some heat and he needs some gas in his tank. And I know was it Paul Ryan, the YouTuber slash amateur boxer Paul Ryan. I think that's his name, Paul Ryan. He's going to be like a enforcer or special guest referee or something like that in this match. So I'm definitely thinking he's gonna play into Sami Zayn taking an L. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens there. Next we have let's see here. Women's Tag Team Championship #1 contender Turmoil. Okay. Okay, so this was confusing to me. So night one would be the women's championship match, Nia Jax and Baszler versus the tag team of the Turmoil. But it says here, at least from what I'm looking at, the Turmoil is going to be on night 2, but that wouldn't make sense. Unless the tag team Turmoil is going to be on night 1, and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are going to defend the tag titles on night 2. Yeah, I think the person this site here that I have, I think they got 2 of the matches mixed up here. Either way, whatever team wins, I don't care. I think Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are going to still be your tag team champions. Moving on, Randy Orton versus The Fiend. This is a match. Now, to my knowledge, this isn't going to be a gimmick match. I think it's going to be just a straight up wrestling match. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, this is a feud that's been going on since, like, Jesus Christ, October. I know some people say it started when Randy Orton burned him alive, but this feud goes back even further than that. Like, shit. This feud goes back to, like, when Randy Orton was feuding with McIntyre, honestly, over the summer. Because even when Orton was feuding with McIntyre, Bray Wyatt was still kind of somewhat playing his mind games, like on the sidelines with Orton. So this has definitely been going on for a while, building up to this at least. Whatever the case, whether this match is a gimmick or a straight up wrestling match, I think the Fiend's going to win this. Obviously, he's come back with a more dark, burned, crispier version of the Fiend gimmick. Um, so definitely got to get his win back. If this turns out to be a traditional wrestling match, I hope it's good because last time Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt had a in-ring wrestling match, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at WrestleMania when they locked up. But despite that, uh, either way, traditional wrestling match or a gimmick match, not Randy Orton, the Fiend is gonna get this one for sure. Next, we have for the United States Championship, Matt Riddle versus Sheamus for the U.S. title. Where do I start with this? Um, I really think WWE put they shot the gun way too soon. Like I'm down for I enjoy Lashley as WWE champion. I'm down for Lashley McIntyre fighting for the world title, but I still go back to my original mindset, and that is Sheamus should have been the one to face McIntyre for the WWE title. The story was there. The story was there. But for some reason, they just think Sheamus and McIntyre, I guess it's not a big enough marquee match to fight over for the world title at WrestleMania. I think Sheamus kind of got duped. I'm not going to even lie. And what makes it even worse, Sheamus has been putting on some hell of good matches. Like, his last couple matches he had with McIntyre on Raw, and then his match he had with Bobby Lashley on Raw, his match he had with Riddle recently, last week I think, or the week before, have all been good. And with the exception of the match I think he had with Riddle recently, Sheamus has been losing like a lot. He's been putting on some banger matches, but he's been losing a lot. He's lost multiple times to Drew McIntyre. He's lost to Bobby Lashley. They used him to get Bobby Lashley over and become like, legitimize him as a beast and a threat. I kind of feel bad for Sheamus. Like, he's been putting on some really good matches. I know Matt Riddle just kind of won the U.S. title at the Chamber not too long ago, back in February. I think, yeah, at the end of February. I think Sheamus deserves to win the U.S. title and beats Matt Riddle. I think this match is going to be absolutely phenomenal. This is another one. WrestleMania Night 2 just has so many more better potential quality matches tonight for that night. Because not only do you have, Sami Zayn and Owens, I think are going to tear the house down. But even Sheamus and Matt Riddle, they've had excellent matches with each other. And I think this is going to be another slobber knocker, is what Jim Ross would say. I'm going to have to say, I think Sheamus should get the U.S. title on this. So Sheamus is going to be my guy for that. Next, for the WWE Championship, we have the Intercontinental Championship match. Big E versus Apollo Crews. I'm surprised we have both mid-card titles on Sunday. That's weird to me. Yet we'll only have one tag team title match on one of the cards. But anyways, Big E versus Apollo Crews. I know Apollo Crews has, been repackaged with this Nigerian gimmick, or not really Nigerian gimmick, but like I guess he really gone back to his roots back when he was Yuha Nation, when he worked on the independent scene. But he's fought Big E so many times prior to his repackage and lost, might I add. I'm kind of over these two having a feud. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Big E needs needs some new opponents. He needs some new opponents. I'm kind of done. Um, it wouldn't surprise me, just for shock value, if they have Apollo Crews win, just to throw him a bone, um, just to kind of give him some momentum because he's gone through this character change. But For me, I'm gonna go with Big E. I think Big E should just continue his solo run, his solo push as Intercontinental Champion, and then just move his way up to maybe some point later this year become Universal Champion. Next match after that, we have the Raw Women's Championship match: Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. This is an interesting match. Again, it was kind of thrown together last minute, but for a reason. Charlotte is unable to compete at WrestleMania this year because originally it was going to be Charlotte versus Asuka 2. But Charlotte got COVID, I believe. She got COVID. So they end up pushing up Rhea Ripley's debut. And on the night of her debut, she issued a challenge to Asuka. Asuka accepted. And from this past Monday, it looks like Rhea Ripley is a full-fledged heel. Okay. I think Rhea Ripley should win this. I think Rhea Ripley should win this match. I know it's her first match in, but you know what? They've done it before. They've done it twice before where, like, the first time a female wrestler has her in her like debut match, she wins the women's title. They did it with Paige, and before Paige, I think they did it with did they do it with AJ Lee too? Either AJ Lee or before that it was like Mickey James or something like that. But they've done it twice before in the women's division, so I don't see why like do it a third time at this point. Asuka to me has been kind of like an afterthought as the women's champion. No fault on her, but just the women's division on the main roster of WWE, I feel is lifeless, is dead. Raw especially, there are no more challenges for Asuka to conquer. So I just say give it to Rhea Ripley. Now, in Rhea Ripley winning the Raw Women's Championship, should she win? I think they're going to revisit an old storyline that they had last year because I think she's better now. I think she's gotten over COVID. You bring back Charlotte, and the next program would be Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. This time, Charlotte's chasing Ripley for the Raw Women's title. I would only be okay with that if Rhea Ripley gets the upper hand on Charlotte. Because when Charlotte was chasing her for the NXT Women's title, the build was nice, the match was good, but when Charlotte got the NXT title, Rhea Ripley just fell into obscurity and off to the sidelines. They didn't do much with her. Rhea Ripley herself has come out and said on interviews that like she kind of felt like she thought that she was going to do more, but they didn't have nothing else for her, and she kind of lost herself, and I think kind of felt like in a semi-depression. I believe Rhea Ripley's words, not mine. If I go back and do the research, she did mention something along the lines of like she felt kind of like down or whatnot because they didn't have anything else for her after the feud with Charlotte. So I think Rhea Ripley wins the Raw title, and I think after that, the night after WrestleMania, she's going to encounter a returning Charlotte. And should they revisit that feud, Charlotte needs to put over Rhea Ripley. And you just give Rhea Ripley the gas, pump her with the gas, and just have her be a dominant Raw Women's Champion. Because I think she deserves it. Next, we have the main event for night 2 of WrestleMania 37. You have Roman Reigns, the defending champion, taking on Royal Rumble winner Edge, who now just recently turned heel. And you also have Daniel Bryan. So Reigns versus Edge versus Bryan. They can go with this in two ways. I don't know. I don't know where they could go with this. Daniel Bryan was definitely a last minute monkey wrench they kind of threw in there. I've been saying some stuff online that it's been saying that like Vince McMahon doesn't feel like Edge and Roman Reigns, the feud is really hot. Like it's not. It could be a lot better than what it is according to McMahon. Like his reception of it wasn't really high. Hence why they threw in Daniel Bryan, and then they end up turning Edge heel. And let's be real, Edge makes a far better heel than he does a babyface. We love to see him. We're glad he's back and that he could work to some capacity. But I mean, like, the dude built his whole singles career as being the ultimate opportunist, the rated R superstar. Edge wasn't going to be good for too long. So I think the right call was made for him to be a heel. Obviously, Roman Reigns is the biggest heel in the overall company. So you can't do a heel versus heel. I mean, you could, but Vince isn't a fan of it. So to balance it out, you throw in Daniel Bryan, who comes in as an underdog, and he's a baby face that everyone loves. I hear some people complaining about this. I've seen, because they're like, "Why the hell is Daniel Bryan?" They're repeating the same storyline for WrestleMania 30. Why is Bryan being inserted? He had his chance. It was an unfair disadvantage, but he had his chance at Chamber, and then he had a legitimate chance again at the following pay-per-view, Fastlane. Why is he being inserted into this triple threat? Bryan's only in this triple threat to take the pinfall. That's all. Now who wins? That's the thing. That's the more difficult decision. Roman Reigns has been on fire. Roman Reigns has been the best on-screen character, personality, heel in all the WWE over the last like several months. Can't argue with that. On the other hand, you have a returning Edge, a veteran who won the Royal Rumble. Do you give him the belt? I said this over a year ago when Edge came back and returned, and they announced that Edge had signed a multi-year, like 3-year deal. Limited dates, but 3-year deal. I said there's no way in hell that Edge would be back in WWE for 3 years, despite his limited work schedule, and he not become world champion again, whether it be Universal or WWE, or maybe both within the 3-year time frame, and he bounces back between different shows. There's no way Edge is not going to be champion again. Anyone who does not expect Edge to be world champion, another 2, maybe 3 more times in his 3-year run, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself, and you're setting yourself up for disappointment and or failure. I don't know which side of the fence you would fall on if Edge becomes world champion. I said that over a year ago on YouTube here. I actually said it in the 2020 Royal Rumble when Edge came back. Could Edge be Universal Champion? He could. I guess, really at this point, who would really win? I'm going to have to say maybe Roman Reigns, because it doesn't really feel like right now is the time. Like, doesn't feel like Edge should be that guy to dethrone Reigns, and obviously it shouldn't be Bryan either. So it's like, I'm going to have to kind of go with Roman Reigns. I think if the WWE title is going to change hands between Lashley over to McIntyre, I think the Universal title is going to stay intact with Roman Reigns. If Edge wins, I wouldn't complain about it. I just wonder if they did go the route of Edge, who would they have on that SmackDown roster to work with Edge outside of, say, like a rematch with Roman Reigns? Who else could they really have? And how long would Edge really, have that title for? If he's working limited dates and schedules. So I'm going to go with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns to successfully retain his Universal title. But Daniel Bryan is going to be the one to eat the pinfall. You guys let me know what you think about this, about my predictions for Night 2. After kind of going over and talking about it with myself, Night 2 is definitely a much stronger card compared to Saturday's card. But you guys let me know what you think about this in the box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button, and subscribe. Peace out.